Good. Good.
It is.
Hey, Peggy.
It's hello.
I'm gonna make myself a sandwich.
Who was that? Was that Jay?
Let's see. Hello, everybody.
Oh, it's Matt. Hi, Matt.
How are you all doing?
Good.
Good.
How are
Good to
you?
see everybody.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, we are. I'm going to be heading up the laptop out here at the site.
Sweet.
Get my volume up here. It's a lot of noise back here with the gator and all kinds of things. So, hey, we're going to do a multimedia presentation this time. I'm going to start with the PowerPoint and then switch over to Terry.
Yay.
So good to see everybody.
Good to see
Hey,
you.
Matt.
We've got a program out. Oops, we've got a program out today, and this is the last expedition before the field school begins in June. So
Yeah.
but
We saw the Mannings are there.
yeah, Mannings are here, and they brought their daughter.
Oh, nice.
And Patty's working with Dennis doing some metal detecting. So she's actually got the iPad out and is helping to record hits, which is great.
Hey, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's cheating.
It is. Yeah. Hey, Gene, we're doing
Hey.
a dry run for the November program because we want to use the iPad for the metal detecting program in November, but we're going to have multiple units going at once. So I want to try to figure out how to make this happen and not overwrite all the inventory numbers, which would be a nightmare. So
Yes, that would be a nightmare. But that's a great idea to use iPad. All right.
yeah, it makes all the data go in. I'm gonna share with you all a map in a little bit showing what the latest hits are that Tony, I see you're there, that Tony and Dennis and Lance have been doing. So I think we found one of your hits, Tony, up here, just right over here in this area. There was a piece of bar iron that we uncovered.
Oh,
So
good.
and
Good.
and there's Terry right there.
Hey.
Yeah, I'll email you a link to this. Do you want me to email it to you or? Okay, copy invitation. Getting Terry linked into all this. Gmail. Let me know if you get this, Terry. Oh, that is not right, Terry. I'm sending a link for Terry to register for this. That would not be, it'd be like, what in the world? Let me get to the link here. All right. One of the challenges of being outside is there is so much glare out here. All right, here we go. Terry, I just sent it to you. Let me know if that works. All right. Yeah,
we got a good view of your
Chris.
hat. We have an excellent view of the top of your hat there.
Oh
Matt.
no, okay, thanks. I am getting I need that input. That is a huge help. There, that's a lot better.
There
So
you go. Now you're cooking.
yeah. All right, we're at 12:01. We'll go ahead and begin this live lunch and learn at the archaeology site. What we wanted to do is give you all an overview of what we're finding at the Blacksmith Shop, but then overall what we're doing at the home farm this summer. And with my camera, Terry, I'm gonna do an introduction for about 10 or 15 and show some slides. And then Terry will give you an overview of the site. But I'm sitting out here at the site. There's the probably gonna make you sick with this little camera. There's the visitor center up there. Terry is over there at the site. Wave, Terry. Yeah, there's Terry right there. And there's where all the units are. And then behind me is the where everybody's having lunch. All the expedition members are having lunch. All the expedition crew wave. There we go. So but what I thought I'd do with starting everybody out is do an overview. So I'll go ahead and share my my screen, and let's see. And you all probably see in 1 second here, you'll see my PowerPoint coming up. Yeah, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. It's
Thanks.
working. So this is a shot that Terry took. Gosh, it was back in the fall when we had finished up at the overseer's house of the overseer's site right there with all the units, the visitor center in the background, and you can even see the main house, the south yard up in here. This is just a gorgeous shot that Terry got. And so the overseer's site is where, we were working last year at this time, the summer, doing shovel test pits, and then over in the late summer and fall doing excavations, and found all kinds of things. Terry and Chris did an overview of this about a month ago. And now where we're at is at the Blacksmith Shop, which is just across Westgate Road right here on the other side. And so it's on the same side of the road that all the slave quarters are on over in this area. And the what we're doing with the surveys this summer is we're looking at all the sites across this area. We're doing metal detector surveys. Dennis's and Lance and Tony's helping out with this, doing 10-foot gridded metal detector surveys all across this area. And in a couple of seconds, I'll show you the maps that show some of the details, and actually give you a link to those maps to be able to look at some of the metal detector surveys. Now, for this shot was taken several years ago, but it shows all the different sites that we've found through metal detector surveys. So you can see there's a range of sites. We're over here at the Blacksmith site right here. Here's the overseer's house. Visitor center and parking lot are up in this area. But what we've located so far, just with a 20-meter metal detector survey, which is the much broader survey, just to locate a coarse estimate of where sites are, is the tobacco barn over here, what may be a shed, a wagon house, a stable, and then a farrier site. And now what we're doing is we're honing in with the 10-foot metal detector survey to begin to figure out where the actual structures are and where some of the more defined work areas are in all these areas. And what we're thinking about this area is, this is what we think it would have looked like back in the day. This is a three-dimensional landscape map that was created by the University of Arkansas. Angie Payne over at Arkansas, who was one of our partners with the NEH grant, is looking basically a computer visualization of what this area looked like. And y'all have probably seen some of the GIS presentations that we've done. We're looking to put all this into 3D GIS so we can begin to put these buildings in live as we find them, and to create these kind of visualizations. But this is basically our working model of what we're testing with the refined metal detector surveys at the 10-foot level, and then also the excavation units that Terry is going to be showing you in a couple of minutes. So in the end, what we want to be able to do is understand enough about what's here so that not only can we, refine this kind of imagery, but then also begin to represent these buildings out in the landscape with our reconstruct programs. So with the work we're doing right now, we are working primarily at the Blacksmith Shop with our excavation units. And with a field school, we're going to be working in a couple of different areas. This is going to be in June. We're going to start investigating some sites that are downslope of the Blacksmith. There's some potential, Dennis has located some potential burned buildings where he's found a lot of burnt nails, burnt cut nails. And then also we're going to be shovel test pitting an area way over here that I'll show you in a second, called what we think is a farrier site based on how many horseshoe nails we found. But there's a lot of blacksmithing activity there as well. So it's interesting that we've got, the blacksmith shop here, but then down here, we've got another set of blacksmith activities that's closer to the stream, to the water. And so we're looking to see if there's some kind of difference in the kind of blacksmithing happening between these two sites. And hopefully later on this summer, we'll be opening up some units here as well. where Dennis is moving next after he finishes this area with his metal detector survey is all up in this area, where the wagon house might be, the stable, the shed. I'll show you the 10-foot map where it shows you what we've done and then what he's planning to do. And I think I've got those maps next. But these are the kind of buildings that we're after. I mean, you know, with the South Yard, most of the sites we're looking at were places where people were living, and you know, the sites were much more obvious through the archaeology with the ceramics and glass that we found. These sites that we're looking at are everything from storage sheds to granaries to stables that leave a much lighter footprint on the ground. And in some cases, it's probably going to be just through the metal detector survey that we see the representation of the buildings through the artifact scatters. But what we're hoping to do with the metal detector surveys is get a refined enough understanding of where some of the denser areas are, so we can hone in on where to open up units, and then maybe find, you know, some of the evidence of, for example, like with this granary, you know, that some of the piers that might have been there. And but most of the buildings we've got are log buildings. What we're hoping is that a lot of these were on a slope, which means they would need to be banked up with stones or clay, and that would give a signature in the ground. And then surrounding this, you know, the areas are processing areas. So like this is an example of a shot, you know, right after emancipation, outside of Richmond, where enslaved or former slaves are processing some of the root crops. And so looking to see what kind of activity areas are around these buildings, and then eventually, hopefully, find some of the gardens that might be out in this area. We've got a whole collection of slave quarters here, and we're thinking there could have been gardens somewhere in this area, and we're hoping to locate those. And that might be through ground penetrating radar that we need to do that. So with all this, you know, the importance of this is right next to the visitor center. So what we want to be able to do with this site is do a full scale restoration, meaning all the activities that were here, and recover all that. And of course, you know, what we are making up for is this lack of documentary records that we have that are specific to where buildings are and what was happening at certain sites. Hillary Hicks, our researcher, has gotten all kinds of great information about the farm in general, but it's through the archaeology that we're able to locate where these buildings are and begin to ask questions about what happened at specific spots. And so we rely on the archaeological record for this. And another thing that we're looking to do with all this is start to work with our the Montpelier Descendant Committee on, once we're able to figure out what sites are out here, is work with them to figure out what sites they would be most interested in looking at for their ancestors' work and contributions here, and then also what kind of questions. So these are all, you know, once we get a handle on what's out at these sites, we're going to have a lot more community-based discussions that involve, you know, many different groups to look at all this. So with the metal detector survey, most of y'all have seen some of the presentations on this. These are 10-foot gridded metal detector surveys. This is Dennis here at the Blacksmith Shop, and you can see the 10-foot grid he's on right here. These blue flags are the 10-foot grid, and then all the red flags are all the hits he's located with the metal detector, and he counts up these hits, and that's what gets us the number of hits per 10-foot grid. And then we do this all across the area, and we're able to produce these color-coded maps that show where the concentrations are. But also what Dennis does is he samples, you know, a couple of the hits, a couple of the plugs in each of these areas to get an understanding of what's there. So in the case of where we're putting in units, Terry's going to show you in a couple of minutes, what Dennis found was this incredible concentration of iron artifacts, everything from slag to clipped iron to horseshoe nails and many other items that are being repaired, such as this padlock, just all kinds of artifacts that really give us a detail of the actual activities happening. And to remember, what we're finding mostly is the scrap that was thrown away. So a lot of these, like this padlock, are items that were not able to be repaired, and maybe the hasp was taken off this, or the bail was taken off this for use on another one, because this, you know, the mechanism was no good. Who knows? But it's putting all these clues together that's going to be exciting for figuring out the specific activity. So for the maps for this, I've got a let's see on the I've got a link that I'll send you all where you all can explore this yourselves. But this is a map showing all of the metal detector grids that we've done on 10-foot intervals, what Dennis has done in 10-foot intervals. So, and also areas that Lance did as well or in earlier years. But the visitor center is up in this area. You can see the visitor center right here on this overhead map. There's the parking lot. All these squares in here are where you've got these areas that we've done metal detector survey, and the areas that are in green to yellow are lighter concentrations. And then when you move into the orange and the red, that's when you get into really major concentrations of artifacts. So you can see in here in this location, you've got where the blacksmith shop is. The Madison Family Cemetery is right here. Here's the overseer's site that we worked last year. This blacksmith shop is this major concentration, and what we've got, the crew has been putting in units here that we're working with the expeditions. All these tiny, yellow and blue squares here are the units we've excavated in the middle of this concentration. And what Dennis has found is not only the blacksmith shop here, but also these other interesting areas. So downslope from the blacksmith shop, Dennis found this concentration here of what turns out to be nails. And when you turn on, if I get the right layer here, let's see where are the hits, MDS hits. Yeah, if I click on some of these yellow dots in this red concentration, what you can see is there's a whole bunch of nails that have been encountered. So you can see all these cut nails, and these are these incredibly clean cut nails that show that they've been annealed or burned. And so what Dennis has found in this area is all these hits that have all these burnt cut nails. And it looks like there's some, each hit, all of them have these burnt nails in them, which is so cool. What it's showing is that there was a structure that was burned here. And so this is an area we're going to be investigating starting in June with excavation units with the field school. And then Dennis has just found an area right below here on this little ridge right here that is another concentration. He's going to begin to sample this to see what is there. But what's interesting is there's not as much slag in these areas. When I turn on the slag here, you can see all the slag, all these black dots are concentrating up in here. And then the scatter becomes much lower down here. And then when you look at the clipped iron, when I turn this on, you turn off the hits here, you can see all the clipped ironers up in here, but not much clipped iron in this area right here. So this is some sort of structure that could be a shed. It doesn't appear to be a living spot because there's hardly any ceramics, glass or animal bone. So we might have some kind of storage sheds down here. We've got to, we're going to investigate and see what they are. But the other site that Dennis just recently did more survey on, if I zoom back out of this, you can see here, this is all the quarters for field slaves that we excavated years ago. If I turn off the grid, you can see the 3 reconstructed slave quarters that are out there. That's all this concentration of hits here. But then just downslope of where the well is. So the visitor center is right up here. There's a road that comes down to this well, and at the very bottom of this slope, there's this little concentration of items down here. And when you zoom in, Dennis, we have not recorded the hits that are over here yet, but in this concentration of hits here, you've got, hundreds of hits in each one of these squares. He's gotten all kinds of slag, clipped iron, but a lot of horseshoes. So this in June, we're going to be digging shovel test pits down here with the field school to investigate what this site is. Hannah James is going to be heading up that survey with field school students. And then hopefully later on in the summer, we'll be opening up units in this area to investigate this. So this surveys that we're doing right now, we're going to basically rinse, wash, and repeat for all this area up in here. So where Dennis is heading next is after he finishes the survey through here around the blacksmith shop, he's heading back up into this area, and he and Lance and Tony will start metal detecting grids up in this area to flesh out, what sites are all through this location. So what we hope to do by the end of the summer is get all this metal detected without Dennis Lance or Tony's arms falling off from all the metal detector survey they have to do. But then, begin to do more investigations on all these areas with the shovel test pits and units. But to give you an idea of, where Terry's going to be giving you the tour next, let me turn off all these hits and I'll put on the 10-foot grid again. We'll zoom in here to the Blacksmith Shop where all this red concentration is. And all these units in here, we have started to locate some really interesting features and all kinds of artifacts. And that's what Terry's going to show you next. And I'm going to put into the chat, if you're ambitious and want to use 2 screens, you can actually follow along with Terry on his Enterprise app. And let me get to Zoom here and to the chat. I'm going to put into the chat the link for this live coverage of the units, so you can go into these set of maps and click on the units that Terry is looking at. And when you click on this link right here, what it does is it brings you to this page right here. And when you scroll down, I've got this window in the way here.
Yeah. So, hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Terry here.
There's Terry. All right.
Just to give you all some context, this is something we're able to build and do because of the paperless archaeology work that we're doing and the tablets that we're collecting this data all digitally on now. And so this page is kind of the home page for this entire survey project. And so if you scroll up to the top, Matt,
yeah.
Just so you all can be familiar with it, the About button there at the top gives you background and context for the project. So just if you are wondering some of the things that Matt talked about, why we're looking in this spot, where Montpelier is, what some of our goals are, who all the beautiful people are who are working on the project, and a little bit about our methods. That's all there. And then the last, but the Home Farm Stories button all the way on the right is where we're going to be adding interpretation and stuff like that. So stay tuned to that as well, because there'll be story maps and different things sort of telling you, walking you through some of the things that we found. And then the button that will be hopefully fun for today is the dashboards button, which is right in the middle there. And these are actually dashboards that we've made with GIS so that you can follow along. And so we've got, and with the data as it's being collected in real time. So there's 2 of them that are active right now. There's the shovel test pit survey on the left, and then there's the unit excavation one on the right. And so we will actually.
You want me to click on the unit excavation one?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead? You can go into unit excavation and you can kind of see. So if you click on the different units, you can see their unit numbers. You can see all the data that we collect in those units, and just kind of you can scroll. And then there's 3 navigation buttons up at the top of this screen. There's stratigraphic layers. So the one we're on right now talks about the different strata. Excavation units, which just shows you the actual unit numbers. So Matt, if you click on excavation units up at the top. Nope, not on a unit.
Okay, this guy. I got you.
Yeah.
Not the actual units.
This will tell you what the excavation units actually are. So this might be helpful for today. I'll be saying, hey, we're in unit 2688. You can click on MT 2688 over on the right on that pull down bar, on that scrolling bar over on the right, and it'll highlight it on the map for you. It should anyway. If you click on one of those buttons, it should highlight it on the map. And then the other one's
find 2688 or there it is right there.
Yeah. So it should highlight it on the map and zoom you to it. So so since I'm just going to be kind of wandering around in a big green field, this can add a little bit of context for you if you want. There's also a feature that we're probably going to talk about that I don't really want to uncover. So if you go to the features button, Matt, up on the upper right, next to excavation units, there's features.
Yeah.
There's really only one feature, and it's that one right there. F-65. So we'll talk a little bit about this, but this way you can all look at a picture of it instead of actually listening to, looking at a tarp. So anyway, fun tool. You can come back to it whenever you want and use it. But otherwise, Matt, anything else you want to talk about, or am I in charge now?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing screen and I'm gonna switch it over to you. So you are live now, Terry.
Awesome. Okay, so welcome to the archaeology site. Welcome to the Blacksmith Shop. Let's see if we can orient ourselves. Matt's behind that trailer over there. There he is. He just popped up. Let's see. We've got some of the excavation units that we're working on. The road is right behind Matt, so that the visitor center's up there, and that Westgate Road comes all the way down here on the other side of our excavations. And the overseer's site is on the other side of the road. Madison Family Cemetery is over there, and our field lab is the green tent that's back there. Before we came in and put in these excavation units, we actually did shovel test pit survey. All of the blue flags that you see out here that are 10 feet apart, these are all where we've dug shovel test pits, and these shovel test pits are the step after our metal detector survey. So we come out and we do the metal detector survey that Matt was telling you about. That helps narrow things down, right? But really, when you look at that map where I'm standing, this was all those big red squares that Matt showed you on that map. So we come in and we do shovel test pits. It gives us another layer of data, right? Another piece of information, because we get artifacts beyond just metal objects, right? We'll find ceramics if there's ceramics to find, bottle glass, window glass, so on and so forth. We can also start to find features if they happen to be under that 10-foot grid. So that's really helpful when we think about putting in excavation units, which is the next step in the process. Along with that, we also did ground penetrating radar survey all the way through this area in here. The results are a little murky because it was lots and lots of anomalies out here, and it ends up there's a whole bunch of bedrock outcroppings and quartz veins and all kinds of things in this area. So it really made the data very messy and kind of hard to work with. But areas up here where we put units, there's a number of different things that led us to want to put units up here. There are big GPR anomalies, one right here and one right here, where my hand is, what my hand is covering. In addition to, this is where the highest concentrations of metal hits. This is the area where Dennis basically didn't actually put any pin flags in because his machine just made sounds the whole time. It was just one continuous signal. So we couldn't even count the number of hits because there were so many and they're so close together. So big concentrations up there. Shovel test pits also turned up lots of really great metal artifacts, lots of horseshoe nails, clipped iron. I think we found a pair of scissors, like just really great artifacts coming out of this area. If you actually go through the STP dashboard and click on the STPs, you can see the pictures of those. And then a little bit down the slope, just a little bit, we found some features in some of these units as well. So we wanted to test for those. So these were the first 5 units that we put in on this row. It's on, if you're looking at the map, it's on the right, on the east side of the site. So we put those units in, worked on those about a month ago. And then we just kind of moved up slope into what is really the flattest area of the entire site. I'm standing on a hill. All of this slopes down all the way around me. So, so we really kind of wanted to catch these big concentrations and these GPR anomalies and this, and these couple features that are down here, and then move up onto the slope and put in another set of units to kind of see and test what's going on up here on this part of the site. That one feature that I told you about, if you're following along on the map, if that's fun for you, this unit down here, when we dug the shovel test pit, we actually came down on a burnt log, like a really well preserved intact piece of burnt wood right at the bottom of a shovel test pit. So we definitely wanted to put a unit in here.
My apologies.
Ended up coming down on soil that's very, very different in this area down here. Lots of burnt wood in it. This really darkish brownish soil. And then at the bottom of it is a linear feature that is cutting right across the unit just like this here. And then on one side, we have all this burnt red clay. And on the other side, we don't. So really exciting feature in here that we're going to hopefully explore some more in the future. In this unit, when we got down to the bottom, we started seeing some of that same burnt red clay feature on this end of the excavation unit. So so some interesting features. Not sure what's going on here, but burning is certainly an important component of blacksmith work. So interesting possibilities down here to explore further. As we moved up the site, we saw more and more and more iron objects. Down there was almost nothing in that unit, just some nails. And here we started to see a layer on top of the burned activity that started to see an increase in metal objects. This unit was, and then these last 3 units have just been packed. So let's see what Diane and Matt are looking at up here. This is from this excavation unit right here. What unit number is that? 2679 up here. And this is the layer that's right on top of the subsoil and just the kind of last half of one of these strats. So what kind of stuff have we got
I
in here?
haven't seen this before. This looks like either a punch right here, or it's where the handle would haft onto a file, like a triangular file. But I'm not seeing any of the lines. But there's some of the other things. This is a really Diane just showed me this. This is looks to be I've seen teeth for some of the threshing machine that are odd like this. Like this has been clipped off. You can see where it's been cold chiseled. Like with a cold chiseling, this is a really nice example where they would heat the piece of iron they wanted to cut up to it being red hot, and then they would take a chisel that was cold, because if you held a hot chisel,
that would hurt. Yep.
So you take a cold chisel and you cut through that hot iron, and that's where you get this nice lip right there. And you can see where it went. Probably it was cut this way and then sheared off that way because of that little piece there. But then also our diagnostic horseshoe nails.
Yep.
So these guys are just everywhere. And this is a pretty, a modest amount compared to what a lot of the other units.
Well, and this is just the bottom portion of the bottom strat.
Oh, that's right.
Of so 2 layers worth of stuff. So there's probably I would take this and probably multiply it by 4, and that's what you've got in one of the strata.
That was above it.
That was above it. Yeah. So
what's crazy about this area is, like with the metal detector survey, Dennis was able to only about 100 hits, but that's in a 10 by 10. If you divide that by 4, that's 25. But even in this area right here, like you're saying, the bottom of the dense layer, we've got over 40 items that are metallic.
Oh yeah.
So the metal detector survey is just the tip of the iceberg for these areas. So areas where the metal detector survey is showing 12 items, there's probably 5 times that number of items if we actually put in a unit.
What's really neat about, and one of the things that is really suggesting that we have a blacksmith shop, but also probably a place where lots of repairs are happening, is the variety of artifact type that we're getting. So while it's all iron, we're seeing a lot of diversity within the types of iron. So there's horseshoe nails, there's clipped iron, right? There's other nails, there's possible threshing machine parts, there's carriage parts, there's hooks, there's escutcheons or whatever those things are called that are on gates and things like that. There's architectural hardware, lots and lots of variety, which really suggests that the types of activity, the work that is happening here is related to agricultural activity. It's related to transportation. It's related to domestic sites, right? Because those repair work is all happening at this location, which I think is really interesting and a really good indicator that it's a blacksmith shop.
And what's cool about so many of these pieces, even the diagnostic pieces like these, like potentially from the threshing machine, it's all clipped, and then the scrap that's thrown away. So this piece could have been from, you know, a nail that broke, and then they're clipping off the very end and then using the rest for something else. So
Right.
you've got all the scrap,
Yep,
but
it's the
these are items
byproduct. Yeah.
that are not going to be used. They're too small to do anything.
Yep.
And then all the slag, and all the rest of this is just slag after slag after slag. So
Yeah, we are not finding nice finished products. One of those.
nail. That's cool.
Yep.
Looks like it's yeah, very like almost like not a nail, but you can see where the shaft came. This is more like a
Spike.
rivet. Yeah. Or
Oh, okay.
nail or rivet or a
Yeah.
spike. It's hard to tell. So
Yep.
cool stuff.
So yeah, lots of that game happening here with iron objects.
One little piece of
Guessing.
black glazed earthenware.
There you
So,
go. That's
again, somebody's
our fifth ceramic.
Yep.
This unit right here, we did get the perfect Montpelier artifact, which is one piece of bamboo and peony, and that's really, really important because that is the ceramic that the Madisons had on their table that they purchased around the 1810s. So that is a wonderful diagnostic piece for us because it positions all of this scrap right in the Madison period. So all of the byproduct that we're seeing, the activity that we're seeing at this blacksmith shop, is directly related to the period that James and Dolly Madison were running and operating the plantation. So that's really exciting. It's a really, we can tell you that it's all 19th century, but the fact that we're able to tell you that it's, specifically linked to the Madison period is really important from a, and now slag. Okay. Enough about ceramics, Terry. Let's talk about slag. Blah, blah, blah. Slag.
What we're also excited about is all the different varieties of slag, but then also other weird rocks we're finding. Like it's a rock that's got all this glazed material on it that was probably in the little, I'm not thinking of the right word, not furnace, but where the bellows are blowing into the,
Yes, that has a name. I read it yesterday.
The fire hearth for heating up the iron. So there would be all kinds of impurities that in the superheating process with the bellows would have come off the iron. And this slag, there's some pieces in here that have got to be diagnostic, that if a blacksmith, when we show these to a blacksmith, they're going to hopefully be able to tell us what kind of activity was taking place. And what's cool is not only do we have this kind of slag from this shop that appears to be smaller, like you're saying, repairing items, not maybe making them, but more repairing.
Yeah.
Over at the major blacksmith shop, which is the Revolutionary War era one over where the temple is today, we have so much more slag and also a lot more bar iron. It just seems like there's more bar iron, which tells maybe us that they're buying iron to make items, whereas here what we're finding more of is scrap iron.
Yep.
And so this is just an initial observation that we really need to qualify through more excavations. But hopefully the slag gives us an idea if they're heating. When you get bar iron, a lot of times you have to beat the impurities out of it before you use it. It's called the secondary bloomery process. And whether or not there's differences in the slag here, how magnetic it is. I don't know if we have a magnet here.
Yeah, there's one.
Really, yeah, this is a former staff member.
I was going to
ours.
say, is Eric Schweikart online?
If
Because
Eric is,
you're going to send him through.
He's at Colonial Williamsburg now, but I'm passing this magnet over this slag, and very little of it. These are the only two pieces, and this isn't slag, this is iron. But of all this, there's another horseshoe nail. This is the only piece. All right, here's a few more pieces.
Yep,
these are the
nail.
only pieces that are magnetic, and the rest of these aren't. And if I remember correctly, at the blacksmith shop up by the temple, a lot more is magnetic. And so when Mary brings all this stuff back and has the staff catalog it, they're going to separate the magnetic slag from the non-magnetic and get a ratio. And then from that, these are all hopefully clues that'll help us understand. Like this is another piece of iron right there. This is all.
I was going to say, a lot of that looked like iron that you were.
The only magnetic. I'm taking this out. I don't know what that is. This is the only magnetic slag out of all this. So slag is fun. It's gonna give us all kinds of things. Slag and magnets. So it's what we play with here. So
anyway, this is kind of a good example of what we're finding. Again, this is just at the bottom of the unit, the last bits of a strat. So there's still a lot more that came out of this level. Oh, we've got questions. Okay.
Thanks, man. I
Yep.
can go back and call out some of the questions.
Yeah.
if you want.
Well, Pat asked about the time frame. Well, Pat, like I said, we found that bamboo and peony. So we're looking at 1810s, 20s, and 30s. We do know that the overseer's house, that's part of this complex, shows up on a map from the 1840s. So it's quite possible that this whole area was still being worked on at that point. Let's see. Folks up here are this is that unit that we just looked at, all done, nice and clean, ready for its close up. Mac did a beautiful job on this excavation unit. So beautiful Piedmont clay. Over here we have the Manning. So this unit, unit number 2684, for those of you following along at home. This has been one of the most interesting ones that we've had. Not a whole lot in the way of metal artifacts like we've seen over here. Tons of slag. Hannah's going to show you some of the slag.
We had in just one strat over 40 pounds of
40
slag.
40 pounds of slag. That is
So this is just a small taste of what we found.
1 4-year-old's worth of slag.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's a measurement I know. 1 1/4 4-year-olds. What's been neat about this unit are all the bricks that we're finding up here. We have not been finding brick anywhere on this site. The STPs just showed a little bit up here, but we are getting nice, big, full bricks. None of them appear to be in situ or stacked on top of each other or laid. But we are finding bricks, some of them glazed, and that plus all the slag is, certainly has us all thinking that up here somewhere, maybe where a forge might be located, because we have the byproduct from the firing plus a lot of brick. So the Mannings, who are here on their how manyth? 7th expedition this week, joining us and helping us figure out if we've got a forge. Well, that'd be exciting, wouldn't it?
That would be amazing.
So we're just plugging through on this excavation unit here. What artifacts other than
Really not
an
a lot.
insane amount of slag?
No, it's really mostly just an insane amount of slag and then those whole bricks and brick bats. We're getting a little bit of glass,
1 piece of bottle glass.
one piece, a couple
2
of
pieces,
nails, just a couple of pieces of random iron, unidentifiable iron, and then some more slag.
And this is what they found out of what, 3/10,
Yeah.
4/10, like a pretty decently thick excavation layer. And remember what we showed you over here with Matt and Diane earlier, that was out of maybe a 10th or a little more than a 10th.
Mhm.
So the artifact counts seem to be much lower up in this area. The non-slag artifact counts, obviously we got 2 bags of slag here, so we are finding lots of stuff, but it's just 15 feet away, and you're seeing how the site is changing pretty significantly. All right, moving southward, we're headed over here to Morgan's unit. How are you, Morgan? I'm good. So how did the internet? Okay. So we're just moving a little bit further back. On the ground penetrating radar, we actually had an anomaly that was coming down here and coming through this unit. A big anomaly right in this space. So we wanted to put units on kind of the edge of it. So we put one up there and one here. This one, you've had some fun artifacts in here, haven't you? So Morgan is taking this unit down. I mean, the one we are all waiting with bated breath for has been this guy right here. You see it? This is a tree root, but this guy here has been stuck in the ground, still not even wobbly. So we're just waiting for this possible blade or right. It looked like when it was right here, it looked like a shark fin. So trying not to A, step on it, and B, waiting for that thing to come out. But the artifacts have been really great coming out of this unit. So
I'll put this back in, but this is a good example of like the prime
Yeah.
concentration of items.
this
Holy
is just
cow.
tons of stuff. This is a lot like what we've seen at some of these other units over here. Just again, if you're following along at home, we're on MT 2685. So
Yeah, this is cool.
yeah, that's
That-
an awesome piece.
This is it's a spike that's threaded, so it's a bolt, but then it's got this head that makes it an equivalent of a bolt. But you can see how these are formed. They're almost like a rivet.
Yep.
And it was beaten in
I was gonna
place.
say pounded in and then
Yeah. And
tested
then
out on the backside.
this was hot pounded it was straight when it went in. And so much of this, you think about using your socket wrenches at home to work on cars. Back in the day, all this would happen at the blacksmith shop because you'd need to have all these items red hot to do the work on it.
Yep.
So much that would happen at the
Some neat
blacksmith
stuff in
shop.
Lots of more horseshoe nails. Where was the chain? I saw a chain link in here.
Oh,
there.
There's a piece.
I've not thought hard about chain links until this project, and they must have just just think about how much work goes into making one chain, right? I mean, you have to make hundreds of these to make a chain that was worth anything. 12 of them to make a foot long chain. They must have just been making these things over and over and over again
all day long.
So,
And all these items, like this is this piece of iron that's been cold chiseled this way, this way, this way. It's like 4 different ways to make this square. It's like they're cutting something out. It'd be great to have a blacksmith see this, and blacksmith is going to recognize what a lot of these items are.
hey, there's another
wow.
chain link. Look at that, fresh out of the ground, y'all.
Oh, that's a part of a scissor. That's
Oh,
a
you're right.
scissor.
Yeah.
That's a scissor fragment, like the handle
Yeah,
for
or
the scissor.
Would have gone right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep,
that's awesome.
very cool. Yep,
Neat.
and this probably would have looped up or something like that.
Yeah, for the.
I think that what's neat about this stuff, right, is it's not so much being able to see where all these strike marks are, right? It's knowing that somebody was doing all of this work, right? So we're really seeing the day-to-day work and the day-to-day activity of the enslaved blacksmiths who were working here and had to do this clipping and the chipping and the cutting and the pumping the bellows and shoveling out the slag and the byproduct and shoeing and unshoeing the horses. All of these pieces are representative of somebody's labor here on the property. The work that they did, the skills that they built and developed. This is probably like a latch or something, possibly.
I was looking at that and wondering
because it's got a rivet right there.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, it could like kind of
Anyway.
a lock or something. But
But-
so many horseshoe nails.
Yeah.
These are all horseshoe nails that have been they're clipped and they're worn on this side, so they're from a used horseshoe.
Yep.
And then discarded. And
Yep.
there's just
Tons
piece
of them.
after piece. So this means there are horses up here that are being reshod. I mean,
Yep.
that means the horses are up here at the blacksmith shop having the shoes taken off, and then these nails taken out of the horseshoe so that either the horseshoe can be repaired or adjusted and then put back on with a new horseshoe. And I don't see a lot
Probably
of
not going to see a lot of new ones.
no, because they wouldn't want to waste them. There's
They
this
put them
one
in the
right
shoe,
here
put them in the horse.
that looks new, but it's broken. It's very thin because this is what the head would look like before it was worn down. This is a worn down head. This is a fresh head right here. And then it would be longer. It's like the tip broke off of this horseshoe because it was just poorly made. Oh, this horseshoe nail because it was poorly made. But yeah, shout out to Liz McCaig for all the horse activities here. This is the horses in action. There must have been horses lined up here for
Yeah, right.
for the
Yep.
work that was going on. I mean,
Yep.
you think about, everything from the carriage, the work horses, but then also the carriage horses, the riding horses. I mean, this seems to be where, probably so much of the activity that would be taking place here would be support for all the visitors at the main house, all the, the folks that are being entertained there. There's no SO station back
And
then.
it also makes me kind of remember. We know that there's a road that's coming right along here on this end, and extending all the way behind us, right? So there's a this would have been kind of at the nexus of transportation routes. The transportation routes that were probably mainly for this plantation, not necessarily major thoroughfares, but it would make sense to have a blacksmith shop the same way that you do have a car repair shop or a gas station or something like that, right at the major intersections, right? Which for those of us who are in Virginia have been backed up around as of late, but this is in a lot of ways you'd want your horses to have easy access and your carriages and all those things that are held together with iron. Yeah,
I would love to have us put a unit in because when we put the unit in over beside the slave quarter over there, the one that, I don't know if we can do this, Terry.
Yeah.
I figure the one that's right there. When we put a unit in downslope of it, we thought we had a trash deposit, but when we got down to the bottom, we had all these linear features that turned out to be wagon ruts, and the wagon wheels dig deep into the soil. So I think any of these roads here, if we find them and put a unit in, when we get down to subsoil, we're going to be able to have it confirmed with the wagon ruts, and that would just be to find a way to find the roads, confirm them, and then start to put those on the landscape in terms of analysis. Then all of a sudden, these activities, because Westgate Road, we think, was put in by the DuPonts later on.
Yeah.
And
but that 1844 map's got a road coming up here, and so this really would have been a major intersection and connection point, probably to the rest of the property, and having a blacksmith shop at that location to do all of those repairs on the motors, which are the horses, right, and the cars, which are the carriages, would have been a perfectly good sense to put it here.
Make it real.
Hey, we just figured that all out. Thanks for listening to Matt and I brainstorm here. So the process at work. All right. I wanted to show you all just one more unit. We'll come down. Well, we can come over here. 2 more units. I don't want to keep people too long here. We've got some digging at work here. One layer that we are finding a lot of, it seems to have a lot of these stones and in it, kind of a gravelly layer. A unit back down there. What unit number are you guys in here? 2688. Down there's got a bunch of stones in it. We're curious if maybe these rocks maybe had been laid down to kind of create a better, cleaner, less muddy work surface of some sort. But you all are just starting a new layer, right? So not much coming out of this just yet, but it looks like they're getting down on into this layer that's got a lot of these rocks and stuff like that in it. So that's super exciting. And then this unit over here, this will be the last one. It's nice and cleaned up, just at a transition from one layer to the next. This is actually getting into that layer that's supposed to be a little rocky, but I think it's always nice to see a nice clean unit with a buckle in it. So this really beautiful piece right here, a nice little strap and buckle, and then we've got a couple other pieces of iron just sitting flat right on the surface of this new strap, which seems to be happening a lot here. We're finding a lot of objects that are just kind of flat right on these transitions, and when we see the transition, things are all flattened out. So any questions for me about the excavations, what we're doing on? Let's see, we got some questions. More enthusiasm. Sorry, Robert, we'll work on it. Jay, yeah, that may have been the bolt for your wing nut. That's entirely possible. It is kind of far away from each other, but it's at least something akin to that wing nut. Maybe not that one specifically, but yeah, absolutely. Jay found a really awesome wing nut in his unit. Let's see, right here, and the bolt was found right here. So, but yes, something like that we could certainly match them up and see if one would have fit into the other. Absolutely. All right. Matt, did you have anything you wanted to tell the good people? All right, Matt's hustling back. Beautiful day out here, y'all. So Really wonderful day out here at Montpelier. Yep.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. Yeah, for the just kind of for a takeaway, if anybody is interested in looking at the metal detector map that we've got, I've got a link. We're going to be adding this to Terry's overall maps, but I will put into the chat the link to a map that I've made that shows all the metal detector hits, and you can click on the yellow dots and actually see all the artifacts we've been finding. But you can go up to the search bar and search for horseshoes or scissors and then see where those items are and see the photographs of the items that are there. But for those of you all that are close by, if anybody, and this, we have a lot of guides who are tuned in today and folks that work at the visitor center, definitely come down and see us on Mondays and Fridays when the site is open. And Mary's got the archaeology lab set up on those days, which is the tent right behind me. And so you can see what we're doing there. And then if we have the units open, you can just walk across the wonderful stairs that Bill Bichelle made us right over there and come up and see the site. So thanks so much for tuning in today. Does anybody have any questions about the site or anything that you saw today? Oh, Jay is saying could have used stairs for the first dig. Yeah, that was a recent addition that Bill Bichelle added for us with gains. So that was wonderful.
I will just say, for those of you who are interested, we try to do a Facebook and an Instagram live almost every Friday. So if you enjoyed this kind of walk around and walk through, noon Eastern time, we typically do a walkthrough of the site and talk about what's happening and stuff like that. So if you enjoyed this kind of tour of the site, they happen pretty regularly just on different platforms. So follow us on Instagram and Facebook and you'll get notified when those things happen.
All right, well, thanks for giving us the tour and walking around there, Terry. And thanks for everybody for tuning in. I did see one question about clinker. Yeah, the clinker is what we found mostly is slag. Some of the more highly fired clinker, we have not found items like that here. But where clinker starts and slag starts is kind of it's an age-old debate. So cool. All right, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll send out a recording of this for everybody that's registered. And like I said, Terry said, tune into our Facebook and Instagram pages, and I'll send a link out on those as well, Terry, when I send the overall link out. So good seeing everybody.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
Thanks, Matt.
Are you gonna contact me if you're gonna do that November thing again? Is it a week long or a 3-day?
Yeah. Thank you. The November metal detecting program is a week-long program where we have metal detectorists, archaeologists, and expedition members come out to help with our metal detector survey. So I will send a link to that as well, because we still have slots available for that. So
Are you gonna need me again this year?
Yeah, we definitely could. Oh my goodness, absolutely. We'll have a place for you, Eugene.
Okay, I want to put it on my schedule. That's all.
Yeah, for the metal detector program, volunteers like Gene come out and help us pair up with folks that have never done metal detecting before. So we'll let you borrow a machine and then learn how to do metal detecting and how we do these surveys. So, and this year with the addition of the app that we're using, you'll have a chance to do the recording as well. So in fact, one of our expeditioners right now, I don't know if you can see my screen, she is down there right now. Hey, Patty, wave to the internet. Patty's down there recording hits that she and Lance dug yesterday. So, all right, well, thanks everybody. Good seeing everybody today. And I'll send some links your all's way. Bye-bye.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.